Prime Minister, the government of Serbia categorically denies its involvement in the attack on police officers in northern Kosovo on September 24th. You don't believe that, but what goal should the Serbian government pursue with such an attack?
Dozens of paramilitary terrorists and criminals came from Serbia and killed Police Sergeant Afrim Bunjoku in Zvečan, in a northern municipality in the Republic of Kosovo. And they have brought with them a large amount of military equipment and ammunition. All of that is of value over 5 million euros, produced in Serbia in 2 factories, Sloboda in Čačak and Zastava Arms in Kragujevac, in the last couple of years. And the head of this paramilitary terrorist group, Milan Radojic, admitted that he has been organizing this assault. He has been seen so often sitting next to President Vučić in high-level meetings in Belgrade. And in few days after this terrorist attack, he was arrested in Serbia and released within few hours. President of Serbia is above and behind this attack, whereas at the front of it are these criminals that we know them from organized crime in the north and around the border that we share with Serbia, in terms of drug farming laboratories, Bitcoin mining, and 24 illegal pathways for smuggling different things. So Serbia's fingerprints are all over this act of aggression, which should be condemned by European Union members and United States of America, since there is no doubt that such an assault was not because citizens took up arms or a spontaneous phenomenon.
The president of Kosovo has said that Serbia wants to do with northern Kosovo what Russia did with Crimea in 2014, forcibly annex northern Kosovo to Serbia. Do you seriously believe that?
Serbia has 48 forward operating bases around Kosovo, 28 of them being military, 20 gendarmeria. In each one of them, there are 50 to 150 personnel. They are like a horseshoe around our country. And when they have put barricades in the north, people with masks and uniform, they have had also insignia of Wagner and Night Wolves. They communicate and cooperate with these 2 terrorist organizations from Russian Federation. And obviously, Serbia, in order to create greater Serbia in the Balkans, behaves like a little Russia.
You think Serbia wants to annex northern Kosovo by force?
Serbia is dissatisfied with the disintegration of former Yugoslavia, which they caused, and they want territorial compensation. They know that they cannot have all of Kosovo, so they are after our northern part of the territory, where majority of Serbian illegal structures have been present over 24 years since the end of the war. So yes, I think Serbia wants no peace in the region, doesn't want to join NATO and EU, and wants to destabilize our country and get some territorial compensation for losing wars a quarter of a century ago.
But there are NATO troops in Kosovo, more than 5,000 now, and it would be unthinkable that the international community would accept a forcible annexation of northern Kosovo by Serbia. Isn't this just scaremongery on your part?
On 29th of May this year in Zvečan, 90 KFOR soldiers were wounded or injured by Serbian fascist militia, violent extremists, and 2 weeks after that they have kidnapped 3 of our policemen in Leposavić, the most northern municipality in Kosovo. So they don't mind whether there is NATO or not, but of course they stop when they see sovereignist, democratic government. But other than that, I have no doubts that their goals and their motives are revisionist, and they would like to go back in the 90s of previous century.
In March, an agreement between Kosovo and Serbia has been reached for comprehensive normalization of relations, but it has not been signed and put into effect so far. Is this agreement dead since September 24th?
This agreement has been agreed on 27th of February and then again with implementation annex on 18th of March, but Serbia refused to sign it. It's a de facto mutual recognition modeled upon former German Chancellor Willy Brandt Ostpolitik, when two Germanies recognized each other. However, as long as Serbia refuses to sign, in spite of agreeing to the text, they are not engaged in implementation, and on the contrary, they are engaged in escalation. I don't think that the agreement is dead, but we need way more pressure on autocratic rule in Serbia, which doesn't stick to what they agree, and they use dialogue in order to strengthen their police and military apparatus, which they use against Republic of Kosovo.
But the EU says you bear some responsibility as well. A very central point of the conflict is an autonomy for the Serbian communities in northern Kosovo. And the government of Kosovo has agreed to this 10 years ago, but you have not accepted any draft to this day. Why not?
The agreement which my predecessor did 10 years ago, and then again 8 years ago, another of my predecessors did not pass the Constitutional Court of Kosovo because simply they violate the spirit and the letter of our constitutionality. Serbian language in Kosovo is official language all over our territory. 10 out of 38 municipalities are with Serb majority, thanks to positive discrimination of former Finnish President Martti Ahtisaari, who was mediating in the talks between Kosovo and Serbia in 2007. And we have 10 reserved seats in a 120 seats parliament of our republic, but Serbs are boycotting since Belgrade is ordering them so. We have been very generous towards Serbian minority in Kosovo. I am their prime minister as well. I want to defend their rights. We have been for so long discriminated and exploited that we never think of doing anything similar to anyone. Yes, Albanians are 93% of the population in Kosovo, but we have 4% Serbs and 3% other minorities, Bosniaks, Turks, Roma, Ashkali, Egyptian, and Gorani. They should live in Kosovo, but no Republika Srpska, like in Bosnia and Herzegovina, has no chance in Kosovo, and precisely that is the goal of official Belgrade.
But Prime Minister, the EU has put different drafts on the table, which you all have refused to sign. And you say it contradicts your constitution, but you could alter your constitution. Countries do that all the time.
It is me who offered actually to write a draft statute for the self-management of Serbian community in conjunction with previous agreements, offering that it should respect the Constitution of Kosovo, the decision of our Constitutional Court, the stance of European Union, that this association of Serb-majority municipalities should not have executive powers, nor represent third layer of government, and the US stance published by joint texts of two high-level officials of State Department, Cholet and Escobar, on January this year. But President of Serbia said that I have no interest in that. He basically wants never to recognize Kosovo, but to get a kind of a state within a state, in order to render us dysfunctional. Those kind of requests I cannot accept. But everything which is within our constitution and what I've been offering to respect European Union values and models, I'm ready to discuss. I have been saying in these meetings that I cannot offer coffee without a cup. If they insist on coffee without a cup, all what I can do is show an empty cup. Association must have a legal democratic framework, and that is Independent Republic of Kosovo, recognized by 117 countries all over the world, 22 out of 27 EU members, and 26 out of 30 NATO members.
Okay, but the EU says that the recognition of Kosovo by Serbia cannot be a precondition to this autonomy.
It doesn't have to be a precondition. They have accepted basic treaty of de facto recognition from February and March this year. They have to sign it and we have to implement it. I have shown readiness and acceptance to sign, mentioning that only signature means acceptance and guarantee for implementation. It's not a precondition. It's an already agreed text, which on 9th of February became part of the conclusions of the European Council meeting.
There has also been the idea of a territorial swap between Serbia and Kosovo, the Serb-dominated communities of northern Kosovo versus the Albanian areas in southern Serbia. Couldn't this be a resolution for this never-ending conflict?
What could help to peace, security and reconciliation in the region is a certain balance, symmetry on minority rights. Whereas territorial exchange is a recipe for war and bloodshed. It is true that in the past, especially during the previous US administration, both Belgrade and some politicians in Pristina and in European Union were entertaining the idea of territorial exchange. That project has failed. I know that that idea is still alive in Belgrade, causing some fantasies and daydreaming among certain structures in the northern part of Kosovo, but that will never become a reality. Kosovo is a republic with state sovereignty and territorial integrity remaining intact.
Do you think Serbia will ever formally recognize Kosovo's independence?
I think that mutual recognition will be mutually beneficial. Serbia will benefit by distancing themselves from Milosevic and also by distancing themselves from Putin, because both of these are in the same pool of things with mutual recognition of Kosovo. President of Serbia said that he is never going to recognize Kosovo. However, I think whether he is going to do it or not, it depends at large extent on the joint transatlantic pressure on Belgrade.
5 EU member states do not recognize Kosovo's independence, which was proclaimed 15 years ago. Nevertheless, Kosovo wants to become an EU member. Isn't this a contradiction?
No, it is not a contradiction. On December last year, I have officially handled in Prague a request of Kosovo for EU accession. Since back then there was presidency of Czech Republic in European Council. We have stabilization association agreement with EU. 7 years now, we have fulfilled 70% of it. And jointly, EU agreed on visa liberalization for Kosovo, which will start to be implemented on 1st of January next year. International Court of Justice said that declaration of independence of Kosovo did not violate international law. And in this way, the world debate on legality of and legitimacy of declaration of independence is over. Therefore, our path towards EU should not be blocked. I'm not asking for fast track or backdoor accession, but for acknowledgement of huge democratic and economic progress that Kosovo made throughout these years, and in particular in the last couple of years.
So how upset were you when last week the EU Commission recommended accession negotiations with Ukraine, a country at war, but Kosovo still has to wait for candidate status?
I definitely welcomed both candidate status for Bosnia and Herzegovina and Georgia, and accession negotiations for Ukraine and Moldova. But I think it is not fair not to acknowledge what Kosovo has been doing. For example, according to Freedom House, Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, World Press Freedom Index, Reporters Without Borders, Varieties of Democracy Index, then World Justice Project, Kosovo is at the top of Western Balkan 6 regarding political rights, civil liberties, rule of law, freedom of the media, and so on and so forth. And in addition, we have doubled exports and foreign direct investment and increased tax revenues by 2/3 in these last 2 years. We increased employment by 16% in 31 months. So we just want them to acknowledge our progress, to give us candidate status, and then patiently I will respond to every one of thousands of questions that European Commission will make to our country in order to join EU one day, I want as soon as possible.
Last question. The tensions with Serbia are pretty high right now, as we discussed before. Nevertheless, Austria will withdraw almost half of its 250 KFOR soldiers from Kosovo next April. Are you disappointed by this?
We are very thankful for the role of Republic of Austria for Kosovo. It was people like Alois Mok, Franz Vranitzky, and Albert Rohan who helped us a great deal before and during the war, and then Mr. Erhard Busek, and then after every government. We have excellent relations with Republic of Austria. What we need is more KFOR soldiers who would be patrolling with our police in a 381 kilometers long border that we have with Serbia. So we need more capacities, more capabilities. We need more NATO presence in Kosovo, but likewise we need Partnership for Peace program with NATO. I thank Republic of Austria soldiers, officers, generals who served in Kosovo. It's a sovereign decision of Republic of Austria, but I believe that Kosovo and KFOR, NATO, need each other for the future, besides being part of each other's history.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your invitation and this opportunity.